Hey everybody, Moarhammer here. I've got another battle report for you, and this is another pretty good one. It's my Khorne Bloodbound against 2,000 points of Flesh Eater Courts. Well, it's not quite pure Flesh Eater Courts, I guess, maybe? But I'll get into that in a second, right after the army breakdown. So here's a picture of deployment, and then on my side, starting on the far left, I've got a unit of 10 Skull Reapers with my SLAUGHTERPRIEST kind of behind them, and then my Aspiring Deathbringer and Skull Grinder kind of mixed in with them as well. Then I've got my my Khorne and my other unit of Skull Reapers there. Then I've got 2 units of Blood Reavers with the Blood Secretor in the middle. And then on the far right, in the woods, I've got my Blood Warriors and my other SLAUGHTERPRIEST. Also behind the Blood Reavers, I've got my WRATHMONGERS, and they're just chilling, doing their thing. Then on his side, also starting on the far left, he's got a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. So that's how it's not entirely Flesh Eater Courts, even though it's still a Zombie Dragon. It's the Vampire one. So there's that. Then he's got a unit of 6 Spirit Hosts. That's also that. But I believe the rest is full Flesh Eater Courts. So he's got a unit of 20 ghouls, that left-hand side of the house. Behind that, he's got a Ghoul King. Then the other side, he's got a big unit of 30 Crypt Ghouls, and possibly a Courtier behind them. Then on the other side of that little hill forest thing, he's got a unit of 6 Crypt Horrors, and with another Ghoul King. And then on the right of them, there's a unit of 10 ghouls in that wood. Now we are playing mission number 6, the Gifts from the Heavens, which is the one where a comet comes down in a random zone. So we're both quite spread about quite a lot across the board to see where they come down. As far as artifacts go, I can tell you that I've gone with the Rune Blade on my Skull Grinder, the Crown of Conquest on my Hack Blade SLAUGHTERPRIEST, and I've also gone with the Talisman on my Blood Secretor, so the extra 6 up save thing. And I know he went for, I think the only thing he's gone for Red Fury on his Vampire Lord, and also the Ring of Immortality, so the coming back to life thing, which is always a good laugh. So, because I finished deploying first, because I've got 2 drops as per my 2 formations, I let him go first, and this is what he does. So it's not particularly aggressive, to be honest. The left-hand flank is Dragon Spirit Host move around a little bit, but ultimately there's no point in him moving forward if I can double turn him, seeing as he could just, he could just sit back and not let that happen. And especially as he doesn't know where the objective is, so he's sitting back to find out what happens with that at the moment. And with that being everything that happens, we jump into my turn. And I kind of do something similar. I move my Blood Reavers forward so they're within 3 inches of that hill in the middle, because that is a mystical terrain, so you never know how much that'll help. But other than that, I kind of do keep stuff generally quite a bit far back. I move my Skull Reapers forward, and I put buffs on them, and I plant my Blood Secretor banner, and I do kind of the usual things. But ultimately, it's not much happens. Apart from I do whip my WRATHMONGERS and move them across the left-hand side to try and get them into the Zombie Dragon. That's where I want them, really. But without doing everything I've done, we jump into the initiative roll-off, and he wins it, but he gives it to me, which was actually a very smart move by my opponent. So I go again. I don't really move much again. I do whip my Demon Blade wielding Skull Reapers in case they can get into the Spirit Hosts. But other than that, not a whole lot happens. The usual buffs go off. I move my Khorne where it is, in case he can charge in. It's just going to act as a bit of a shield, and that's ideal. So that being everything that happens, we go into his turn, and he puts a bunch of buffs on. He puts Mystic Shield on the Spirit Hosts. They've got a 3-up, ignoring Ren's save. And everything else kind of comes piling forward. I think he's playing for the double turn a little bit here, but he puts a bunch of buffs on his ghouls anyway. with the whole sort of +1 attack, re-rolling all the missed hits, all that kind of malarkey. So that's quite scary. But I did forget to mention the objective did land in my middle, and also landed in his middle as well. So both the objectives are in the middle. So it's pretty much like playing the first one now. So that's quite interesting. But other than that, that's all his movement done. So we jump into the so with that all his movement done, we go to the shooting phase, and he has got a little bit with his zombie dragon's roar. He ends up killing a Skull Reaper and putting 2 wounds on another. Again, it's not really a big deal. It is what it is. So then we go to the charge phase, and he slams all of his spirit hosts into my Skull Reapers and Khorne. Mostly the Khorne, fortunately, and I had no problem with him dying whatsoever. He did actually make a charge roll with his zombie dragon as well. He made the charge, but because of those 2 little toilet house things, he couldn't place it anywhere, which was fantastic. So he didn't make that charge, which was absolutely perfect. So we jump into the combat phase, and he attacks with the Spirit Host first, surprisingly, because that's his only unit. He doesn't do too badly. He kills 2 Skull Reapers, putting a wound onto another, and he does 3 wounds onto the Khorne. I do 2 wounds back to him with my Deadly to the Last Skull Reapers, so that's nice. But then I pile in with my Skull Reapers, and it's pretty brutal because I've got all the extra attacks from stuff being nearby, with their whip from the Blood Stoker even, and they have a whole bunch of buffs on them, and they murder all but 1 Spirit Host, which is fantastic. And it doesn't take long for my Khorne to pile in subsequently and then kill the last thing himself. So that's perfect. Those guys could be such a massive tar pit, but thanks to the mortal wound output from these guys, they are no more. So, yay! That's fantastic. So, we go to the initiative roll-off, and he wins it. Which is not good. So he puts a bunch of buffs onto those crypt ghouls in the middle, including +1 attack and reroll all missed hits and reroll stuff and other things, and making them extremely deadly. He also puts Mystic Shield on the zombie dragon to make that a bit more survivable. But other than that, not a whole lot. And he charges forward with pretty much everything he can, and there'll be a whole lot of charges, I'm sure, when we get to the charge phase. In the shooting phase, he does try to shoot with his zombie dragon, but he misses, which is fantastic, because I don't need more bellowing in my ear. And then he charges in, so his zombie dragon mashes into the Skull Reapers, and the big unit of 20 ghouls hit the Khorne and Skull Reapers. And I wasn't too worried about this. My Gore Slick Blade wielding Skull Reapers were in range to pile in, even though not many of them. But with the number of extra attacks and buffs they were getting just from sitting there, they were really going to have a nasty time, those ghouls. So I wasn't too worried about that. He also comes piling in like this with all his big unit of ghouls, and this one was going to be horrific. But I was looking forward to it because I'm Khorne, and Khorne does not care from whence the blood flows. Then over here, Crypt Horrors pile into my Blood Reavers the other side, and this is going to be equally horrible because Blood Reavers are terrible. But he does decide to go with this unit first, as you might expect. He didn't want to lose any and then start to lose attacks. He just wanted to obliterate this unit, and oh my god, it was brutal. He kills all 20 Blood Reavers and a Skull Reaper, just for good measure, because he could pile in with like 1 ghoul to the Skull Reapers, and that was enough to kill him. But this was absolutely brutal. He did 17 wounds in the first half of it, so he did it in like 2 batches. In the first half of his rolls, he killed 17, so it was quite significant overkill, but we love it anyway. So yeah, that was definitely a thing there. Then I pile in with my Skull Reapers against the Zombie Dragon, just because I'm trying to do as much damage to it as possible. And I don't do too bad. I do 6 wounds onto it, I think, which is pretty good going. It's a hell of a good start, at least. Nope, I tell a lie. That's a 9, not a 6. They look so alike, damn it. So, yep, that happened. Then he piles in with these ghouls over here, and he puts most of the attacks on the Khorne, and he only puts another 3 wounds onto it, so he doesn't actually do that great. which is pretty good news for me. And no Skull Reapers die, I believe. So yeah, that's they've done a really good job of holding them up, and now hopefully most of those ghouls will get murdered by angry Skull Reapers. And that would be lovely. So then I pile in over here with my Blood Reavers against the Crypt Horrors, because there was nothing else really worth attacking. And they do really, really well. They got all the extra attacks from the Blood Secretor being within 12 inches. They had 3 attacks each. They actually rolled the 6 for Unpredictable Destruction, so they were hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. Wounded on 4s, and because they're on mystical terrain, they get to reroll the wounds. So with all my attacks, I bring down 3 Crypt Horrors. They're Blood Reavers, they should be so rubbish, but they just murder these massive, angry, undead, walking Leviathans. So yeah, I was quite impressed by that, to be honest, so that's fantastic. And then his zombie dragon piles in and attacks, and doesn't do too badly. He kills 3 Skull Reapers. I think he takes an extra wound back from his trouble, which is good by me. But ultimately, it wasn't too bad. I could have done a lot worse. And I think he actually failed his Red Fury because only 3 models died, which is fantastic. So, yay. Then I pile in here with my Skull Grinder because I want my Skull Grinder to start doing his grinding. And he alone kills 10 ghouls, I think. 9 or 10 ghouls. So he does really well himself, so I was very happy with that. So they were at least on a shaky battle shock. So he piles in, and he does pretty well. He's able to kill 6 Blood Reavers. So I say well, that's actually really rubbish, isn't it? So yeah, I was really happy about that. He didn't actually do as much damage as I thought he was going to do. And because I'm immune to battle shock, they ain't going anywhere. And that's fantastic. So then I pile in with my Skull Reapers, and it's as brutal as you would expect. Every single Crypt Ghoul dies. So that unit is out the way for good now. That's fantastic. And because they killed more than 10, they're now getting a whole bunch of rerolls for their trouble. So that's fantastic. I really enjoy that kind of murder. So with that being the end of his turn, we jump into my turn. And I do some stuff. I largely kind of put work into clearing some of the stuff. So my Blood Warriors on the right-hand side kind of move around the back of the Crypt Horrors to try and get into them and help them out against the Blood Reavers. I whip. Mr. Whippy whips the Wrathmongers, and they charge towards the big unit of Crypt Ghouls, because I was fairly comfortable they could murder, if not all, a huge chunk of them, and that would be ideal. And with how close they were, I think they were within 5 inches after their move, so they would definitely get into the charge, but obviously I wanted a better charge than that. I also put Lord of War on them, and I buff them as much as I can, so they should be fairly big killing machines. I also run my Skull Reapers and Khorne around the side of the zombie dragon, because I just wanted to try and get them around the side to ensure they could get into the objective. I also cast Blood Boil for my SLAUGHTERPRIEST on the zombie dragon, and I put another 2 or 3 wounds on it. I think it's got 1 wound left at this point, so I only need to kill 1 more. That's ideal. In the charge phase, I decided to charge my Skull Grinder and Skull Reapers into this big old zombie dragon to try and bring the whole thing down. Again, it shouldn't have been too difficult, but I just want it out of the way. Obviously, completely forgetting about the Ring of Immortality. Yay. Then over here, I pile in with my Wrathmongers. They make a perfectly decent charge. I roll like a 10 or something, so they were going miles. And I also make it in with my Aspiring Deathbringer, just for the extra couple of wounds, maybe. So, fingers crossed, with Battle Shock, this unit should be totally gone. Then also pile in here with my Blood Warriors around the back to make sure that hopefully these Crypt Horrors will die a quick and painful death. And that is all I want from them ever. Is that too much to ask? So as you might expect, I attack with my Wrathmongers first, because I don't want them attacking me at all, because that would be horrible. And they do a pretty good job of it. They're sporting like 6 attacks each, I think, with all the buffs they've got. And they just slaughter about 20, 19, 20 of the Crypt Ghouls, which is fantastic. So they did a really good job. At that point, I think they were on a nearly unfailable battle shock, so I only had to kill a couple more, and that'd be perfect. So then he pile attacks with his zombie dragon before it dies, and he's quite easily able to kill my Skull Grinder, which was a real shame, actually. Again, because he killed that one model, he couldn't Red Fury anything, but Still disappointing because I love my Skullgrind, and if I'd killed the zombie dragon, he would have blood blessed everything, and it would have just gone terribly, terribly downhill for my opponent. Unfortunately, that wasn't to be. So hey ho. So I attack with my Aspiring Deathbringer next. Again, I wanted to try and get these ghouls down a bit more before they attacked, because they could, in theory, just murder the entire unit of Wrathmongers. So I attack with this guy. I kill 1 or 2. It's not a big deal. He's not very good in combat. So then he attacks with his Crypt Horrors, and he doesn't do too badly. He kills, what's that, sort of 5 or 6 more Blood Reavers and a Blood Warrior. So again, he's making his way through, but I'm still very happy that then there are not 6 of them thanks to my Blood Reavers. So I pile in with my Skull Reapers next, and have very, very little issue murdering the zombie dragon and bringing the whole thing down. And that's fantastic. So, again, like I said, I'd forgotten about the Ring of Immortality, but we'll get to that. So, yeah, the zombie dragon dies its first death, and we crack on with the show. So then he piles in with his Crypt Ghouls, and because he's still got a whole bunch of buffs on them, and plus an extra attack from the Wrathmongers, he's still got like 5 attacks each or something, with re-rolling hits and wounds and all that jazz. He attacks on Wrathmongers, and he kills 4 of them, which is really nasty. I was hoping he wouldn't quite do so many wounds. But because he killed 4 of them, that means I get to select 4 of him to attack himself, and they just... they completely delete themselves. I'm just eat the entire unit eats itself, which is fantastic. So they are out the way now, and I love it. I love it. So good. So then I pile in with my... I think my warriors go first, and they're able to kill 2 more Crypt Horrors, which is fantastic showing. But unfortunately, when my blood warriors pile in, they only do 2 wounds to the Crypt Horror. They're not able to entirely kill it, which is a bit rubbish, because I did not want them to pin all these units pinned down here. But hey ho, I do also pile in with my Slaughterpriest to try and attack, but he doesn't manage to make it either. And then when I was mentioning about the Ring of Immortality, so up pops the zombie dragon right behind my lines here. Fortunately, it wasn't a whole lot of choice from where to come back because of where my units were. But he does pop back here, and that is sad because my Blood Secretor was entirely unprotected. So we go into the initiative roll-off, and I win it, which is a pretty good place to win it in my book. So I retreat my Blood Reavers from combat to take them back towards the zombie dragon so I can hopefully try and block him off from my Blood Secretor and also hold that objective a bit better. And I bring my Slaughterpriest back a little bit as well. And everything on the left-hand side kind of tries to run around to try and hopefully get into some combat. So I do whip the Skull Reapers. So with fingers crossed with a long charge, they could get into either that Courtier or the Crypt Ghoul, the Ghoul King that's sitting there. Either one of those would be ideal. In the charge phase, I managed to slam one of my Wrathmongers into this Crypt Horror to hopefully help out and take him out. And then I do make a whole bunch of long charges. Both units of Skull Reapers make it into these guys, and my Aspiring Deathbringer General makes it in, so that's fantastic news. I attack with my big unit of Skull Reapers first. I do 5 wounds to the Ghoul King and murderize the Courtier who was there as well. So they did pretty well. When his king attacks back, he does do 4 wounds to my General, nearly killing him, but not quite. So that was a bit dicey, but not too bad. And then when I come to attack over here with my Blood Warriors, they are quite easily able to bring down the Crypt Horror. And that is perfect. So that is out of the way as well now. And then when my Aspiring Deathbringer over here piles into his Ghoul King, he beats him in the head with this shiny hammer, and the guy dies. That's fantastic. So, because I scored both the objectives in that turn, because he had nothing within range of the other one, I thought I had this game in the bag, because there was no way he could really get the objectives back from me. So, but apparently he had a plan. So he jumped his zombie dragon over this way, in towards the centre of the board to hopefully get a charge in, and he moved his small unit of Crypt Ghouls at the top towards the objective. He also did cast Arcane Bolt with the Ghoul King up there on my General and kills him because he only had 1 wound left. And fair play. And he also moves his Vargulf. I can never get this right. I think there's a Vargulf behind the tower, just down towards my Slaughter Priest. I'll go straight into the charge phase. His zombie dragon here makes it into the Blood Reavers, and like I said, he said he had a plan. And then his Vargulf here smashes into Chuckles, and that was going to be probably quite bloody. So he attacks with his zombie dragon first, and he's able to kill all 6 Blood Reavers quite easily. And then, unfortunately, because of Red Fury, which he can't fail because he killed 6 of me, he's able to pile in and kill the Blood Secretor, which sucked. So that meant that as long as he killed that Slaughter Priest, he would score this objective as well as the other one in his turn. So that was not looking good for me. So I pile in with Chuckles and attack with him. I do 2 wounds to the Vargulf, but it's not enough. He rears up on his big legs and he slaps me around the face and I die. So yeah, that happened as well. So yeah, he scores both objectives because it's the most models. It's having the most models within range of the objective, and that is very, very sad indeed. Fortunately, however, I was fairly confident I could take back both of these objectives in my turn and leave him with nothing to do. So it's not over yet. So I'll bring my Blood Warriors and Wrathmongers and whatever I can down towards the Zombie Dragon to try and charge it. And then my Skull Reaper with the big old axe on the left-hand side goes towards the Vargulf. Other than that, I kind of just line everything up to charge into those ghouls, and I should make pretty significant mincemeat out of them. I can't speak. So yep, here we go. I charge in all my stuff into the Zombie Dragon here, and then my Slaughter Priest and Skull Reaper slam into this Vargulf here. And that should be okay. And then these Skull Reapers and whatnots charge into these guys here, and that should be very brutal and very quick, he says. So I go with this one first because I want to get rid of it, and I kill the Vargulf quite easily with my Skull Reaper guy, and that's fantastic. So he piles in with his Zombie Dragon. He does pretty well actually. These things are just nasty in general. Nothing I really could have done, but he managed to bring down a total of seven Blood Reavers, Blood Warriors even. So yeah, pretty nasty going. And with his Red Fury pile, he also kills the champion of the unit, who I forgot to mention this earlier. He went rid of the unit when a warrior dies. The whole Bloodmark Warband thing I've explained before. So then I go over here with my Skull Reapers, and they absolutely murderize the ghouls, no problem. He attacks with his courtier and he actually kills a Skull Reaper, but don't worry, he's not long for this world. So then we go into my Wrathmonger attacking. I do a couple of wounds, but nothing significant. He's lost 9 wounds total. So yeah. Then we jump into his last turn because I scored those objectives again, and his courtier arcane bolts the Korgorath off, which was sad. But other than that, he hasn't really got a whole lot of movement because he's caught in combat. He does flee with his courtier away from the objective just to conserve points, I think, even though it's kind of irrelevant at this point. And in the combat phase, he's able to murder that Wrathmonger, and that's it. That's all he does, and I do nothing to him back. And there you have it. That is the end of the game. It was a victory for the Khorne Bloodbound, just, but it was a very dicey thing, and I've got nothing left, as per usual, because it was a brutal game and a really, really fun game. I really enjoyed it, and I really hope for a rematch soon because it's a really fun thing to play. Okay, thanks very much, guys. Please subscribe to my channel if you like this video and let me know. Or you can follow me on Twitter at MoreWarGames. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.